welcome you to the Donnie Glover Show. Many thanks to all of the people who have prayed for this show. We are here, and today we have a very special guest for you, Saida Spinner. She's an entrepreneur, originally from the big city. Now she's rocking Baltimore. Welcome to the show. How was that?
Thank you so much. That was perfect.
So today's a special day for you. Tell us about it.
Well, today I was awarded a grant as a small business owner. I'm a recipient of a grant from Fulton Bank and Baltimore Community Lending, and I am super honored.
And it's for?
It is for me to be able to pour into the community through my business, which I have already been doing. So this is just reinforcement that they are paying attention to those who are doing the work.
Okay, and what's the business?
Oh, yes, it is for Lifestyle Wellness Center, a mental health group practice, and we take a holistic approach to wellness. We just began in January. I have been ripping and running, trying to make sure that I'm providing all of the things that our clients could possibly need. Since we take a holistic approach, we are offering therapy, life coaching, nutrition education, and fitness support. And so we're treating the whole person. We're making sure that we offer everything that connects the mind and body.
So you help us deal with trauma.
I help you deal with trauma, life transitions. I help you deal with you being well and managing that. All things that tie into what real life looks like. That's why it's called lifestyle.
What do you find is a regular challenge in this area, in Baltimore?
I would definitely say access to resources, access to care, and even beyond that, when we are getting the care that is individualized, care that is specific to the person, because we're all different. And so we need people to pay attention to what we have going on with each person and not grouping us in, not just women need, but what do you need?
Diet, how important is that to our wellness?
Diet is so big, which is why we've incorporated nutrition education. The gut is the second brain. And so what you're putting in your body changes everything about how you...
Why are you looking at me like that? I eat a lot of ice cream.
I never looked at your gut.
I eat a lot of ice cream. Yes, I do.
I'm just saying, whether you have a bulging gut or not, what goes in it matters. And that definitely changes how you show up emotionally. Your emotional well-being is tied into what you put in your body.
Well, I love tomatoes and cucumbers and onions.
That's awesome. That is perfect for your gut. That's great gut health.
The center, where's the center?
The center is located in Owens Mills, but we're virtual, so anybody can be serviced.
Did COVID increase your business?
COVID definitely increased COVID inspired my business. Second to, my Lord and Savior planting this thought and idea in me, I noticed that there was a lack of clinical settings that offered talk therapy in combination with physical health. And so when I saw that there was a lack, I decided we needed to find a solution for those who needed the whole person treated, the whole person healing.
Who needs therapy?
We all do.
Thank you.
Including me. And I have a therapist.
I was told if your therapist doesn't have a therapist, get a new therapist.
I couldn't agree more. Now, if that is the case in some areas, then no judgment. But I'm just saying, you could be better. We all have room for improvement. So yeah, get yourself a therapist.
What's your why?
Oh, wow. My why. My why is definitely the client. My why is making sure that I'm showing up for others just as much as I'm showing up for myself. And so when I see what I'm, able to accomplish once I take care of me, I want that to pour into others, and it naturally does. And so I'm just doing what's natural to me by helping others, because once I'm okay, I want everybody else to be okay around me too.
Can you look into the camera and give some women entrepreneurs some encouragement?
Absolutely. Keep going. Do not stop. I don't care what happens, what bruise, what wound, just go. And if you have to do it alone, do it alone. But community matters. And so ask for help, because we don't have to do everything on our own if we don't want to. I know that we often feel like we have to be superhuman, because that just comes with the territory sometimes, especially with our culture. But keep going. Bring community with you if you can. And make sure that you encourage others along the way, because we need you to pour into us too.
Okay. How can people follow you, Saida?
You can follow me on Instagram at LifestyleWell, or you can find me on my website at lifestylewcenter.com.
Good deal. Any final thoughts?
Thank you so much. This is such a blessing.
We should thank Fulton Bank.
We should thank Fulton Bank. Thank you, Fulton Bank, for remembering that, again, the people in the community need support. Thank you for reinforcing that we, the community, are worth investing in.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times we're small in big ways, like local decision-making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
Back to the Donnie Glover Show. We have with us Akio Evans. Everybody knows Akio. And he sold these shoes here to everybody. And I always say Dave Chappelle, but that's just, who else? Who else got these shoes?
Kevin Hart, John Dismal from The Doors. Man, I've lost count of how many people, but one of my
Don't forget Snoop.
Snoop Pearson, Tommy Davidson, Will Smith.
And you've been in rooms with these
I have.
performers,
Dr.
these
Dre,
superstars.
Dr. Dre, but most importantly, one of my things I love to actually share with the Air Force One specifically is that we had saved the silhouette. West Baltimore specifically, y'all saved the silhouette, you know what I mean? But the city of Baltimore as a whole, we saved.
What you mean, y'all? Is that
Because
an East Side
I'm
Florida?
from East Baltimore.
My
You know what I
first
mean? Born
memories
and
of East
raised.
Baltimore, bruh. Patterson Park and Landville, 68.
Mine's at 1600 block North Bond Street. Also, Landville, Barkley, Green Mountain, Down the Hill Road Street. Anyway, we're not going to name all the streets.
712, 714 East North Avenue, what?
202, what it is. So anyway, all right, Don, let's get back.
But yes, I spend most of my time
yes. But
over west. Isn't that what the locals
Park
say?
Heights was the Cinderella Shoes was one of the stores that had broke grounds with saving the Air Force One. Paul Blanken, Harold Rudo with Rudo Sports and DTLR. They named themselves the Three Amigos. So when I actually do these pieces, I make sure I put a letter of authentication inside there with Dr. Dre. He wears nothing but Air Force Ones. So when I had the opportunity to be commissioned to make him a piece, I said, you know what, I'm going to share with him how we save the Air Force One.
Akio, this is a curveball.
Yes.
Now, I know you're here to talk about the Air Force One,
Anna Mary Douglas.
Frederick Douglass's wife,
Yes.
first wife.
Yes.
What do you think of this Sankofa Children's Museum of African cultures?
I believe that it's a gem that the world needs to see. Because when you think about the Blacks in Wax Museum, that was the first of its kind. And this Sankofa is the first of its kind that the world needs to embrace. And there's so many artifacts that's here. And then when you think about today's time when we have, the people in office are trying to pull away our history, they can't pull the history from here because that's why it's more important that people come here just to see this because, if history not preserved is forgotten. When it's forgotten, we need a generation to be lost and not know about the Anna Mary Douglases of the world.
That's a great transition. Tell me about your mentoring. Is that important to you?
It is. It's the foundation of, like I said, preservation. Preservation is the first law of nature. So, without it, we are leading the blind. Because everything is nothing new under the sun. With you, Donnie, when I met you in 2010, and I know you don't like me talking about this, like how you said, I don't like talking about like the celebs and Dave Chappelle, but you have helped me when I wasn't even able to articulate. I had rose gold fronts in my mouth. But you took time with me. And had you would have forgotten me and the conversations that we've had over the years, almost 2 decades now, we can't forget the ones that are amongst us because that's how we move as a unit. And we have to move as a unit to be able to make a big impact. I was at Cleveland, Ohio, speaking to the kids that are incarcerated and some of them that might not see the light of day, they're forgotten. But I was pouring into individuals and saying, hey, not knowing that they did what they did, but I'm like, look, I want you to be the guy that is on the other side mentoring the future generation like me, and because it takes that, whatever hope, because as we speak things, so they become. So I don't want to go into that rabbit hole because I know we don't want to have a lot of time to be talking about,
But part of your story that has always fascinated me was how you were on the run with Warrens, still creating art in Arizona. Did you tell me Portland? Spokane, Washington.
I was on a run, and that's when I had my clothing line called Ricochet. Ricochet was because I mimicked my father, because in hip-hop, Roscoe is known as the gun, right, the ratchet. So Ricochet I got that from the Denzel Washington movie, and I just named myself that, named my clothing line that. But I felt like I was a son of a gun, bouncing from state to state, not knowing where to go. And when I finally came back to Baltimore, that's when I finally turned myself in. It was because of Fran Boyd. Fran Boyd, her life was depicted on the corner. And her husband's name was Donnie Andrews, he was a real Omar, Little. And it was these individuals where DeAndre McCullough had, and you and I was canvassing at Coppin State University. Shout out to C.D. Witherspoon. That's when you and I seen DeAndre McCullough. That's the last time I seen him alive. And he passed away the same way his father did in the series, which was from an overdose. And when I met Donnie Andrews at the funeral, at DeAndre McCullough's funeral in West Baltimore, he was like, hey man, make sure you stay in contact with his brother. I stayed in contact with his brother, only to in 2022, Fran popped in my mind. I was like, oh wow, I never got a chance to thank her for allowing me, because I was gonna go on the run again. But DeAndre McCullough was like, nah man, you gotta make sure you do that right. So he went upstairs and told his mother, like, yeah, Akio, he on the run again, but he don't wanna go to court. She said, you know what, I'm gonna treat you like I do my individuals in my treatment programs. We're gonna go to court. And by me, remember you gave me my first suit, gave me my first shirt and tie. And you was like, and I always thank you for it, and shoes. And you brought me into a new environment where it was like the lawyers were breaking the bar. And this is when I was not talking like this. So anyway, I always say that Fran, I never got a chance to thank her, because when I messaged Rod, I was like, yeah man, how you doing? He said, my mom's just doing good. He said, if I'm good, she's good. And then a few messages later after that, and I'm gonna show you the screenshot. 2 days later, he said, hey yo, mom's passed. So I didn't get a chance to thank her for making sure that I went to every court date. And when I'm bringing back to the shirt and tie, the judge said, hey, Keo, like you have a lot of charges here. I was on the run, like you said. Just because you respect the court. And I wore the same blazer that you gave me. Just because you respect the court, we're throwing your case out today. So I was never making money. I was always doing like images and putting on jeans and shirts, like the Dead Presidents stuff. I was putting that on jeans because I was making art out of it. But they try to say just because they had me for the 04 and 05 stickers and the MTA monthlies and the PA tags, they try to blame it all on me as if I was making that, and I wasn't making that. But one person said, because you came to court with a shirt and tie, and everybody ever since I've been coming to court, so my case kept getting thrown out. My mother said, make sure you wear that, make sure you wear that shirt and tie. I went there and I beat the case, and I had serious charges pending against me. But that was up with the grace of God, and I believe that Fran does know that I'm appreciative. But I thank you, Donnie, and this goes back to what we talked about, not necessarily giving up on people. This is what D. Watkins said, you can't throw people away. Because our ancestors, Harriet Tubman didn't throw people away. I have a piece that I've always created where as though it's like hunting camo, like freedom camo. Freedom camo is like what they always say the rednecks wear. They wear like this tree camo, hunting camo. But I said, Harriet Tubman wasn't doing it for sport. She was being hunted. And then, believe it or not, Anna Murray Douglas, she had safe houses that I feel like I'm you now, because every time you at your award ceremonies, you make sure that we walk away with a gem. She had safe houses that when Frederick Douglass was out there and about, her and Harriet would team up. She had, if it wasn't for her selling her feather bed and also making the seamstress and making him a whole sailor's outfit.
I heard you told me he used to have some top-notch outfits.
Because of her. She was a seamstress. And then when she passed away, she died at 44. When she passed away, his new wife was like, hey, can I have her clothes? He said, no, you don't want her clothes, you just want to sell her. She really wanted to throw the clothes out because she felt like it was a spirit that was there.
Of course it was.
So anyway, and that's what inspired this piece. And I put it red, white, and blue because we know that the famous poem that Frederick Douglass had wrote, you know.
What to the slave is the 4th of July.
So I put the colors there, not only represent the Navy, but also like, you know, her being a seamstress. She was a bad mamma jamma. Her whole self, how she was a designer. She was a designer before her time. You know, so the London Fog, before London Fog, you know what I mean? So
we better put a plug in for Tiny Tim. Who was Tiny Tim to you?
Tiny Tim was my uncle. I have one of his rings on right here. He was West Baltimore's finest. He opened up for Richard Pryor. He opened up for Red Fox. Tiny Tim Harris, man, he was a blues singer. And, man, he was amazing. The Apple TV series, Lady in the Lake, they contacted me and they was like, hey, we want to let you know that your uncle was responsible for why we had put this into production, because they had seen his interview at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum. And I thought it was an interview that I shot. They was like, no, and I still have yet, still to this day, to see this interview, which I do want to see it. But he was a legend, man. And you know, those gems that we have in our family that always talk about the Standard Third. Like I remember when Red Fox, Sanford and Son would come on TV and he would watch it all the time. And he was like, you know, I know them, right? And this whole time I'm thinking he's joking. Until my sister and we was cleaning up his apartment and we seen fresh obituaries, because, you know, he must have put these obituaries up and then look at it ever since he left the service. But we seen Dick Gregory obituary. We seen Red Fox obituary. I'm like, wow, he was telling the truth. Like, and then people, when we went to the funeral, oh man, that's chills to my body. It's just like, you just never know. So a lot of people was telling me, like, why are you sharing your uncle all the time? And we have to, like, that's why places like this is needed.
Why don't you look into that camera and tell people why they should pursue what the good Lord put them here to do?
I would say that, you know, we are all given a divine purpose, you know, and God doesn't give up on us, so we shouldn't give up on ourselves. We go through so many hardships in this life. And if he's done it for me, and none of the things that I've done, everything that I've done while I was homeless and I was selling T-shirts in Phoenix, Arizona, homeless. Before the new mall was there, and I would unravel the toddler's bed, and I would make T-shirts there before the mall opened. And I used to get kicked out all the time because I didn't have a peddler's license. But what God was showing me is that, because momentarily it was a general manager that was there, and he said, hey man, would you like to just sell your T-shirts here? I see you keep getting kicked out the mall. And God always sprinkles what you have in front of you. So a year later, after Phoenix, Arizona, I had my own store in Spokane, Washington. So then even coming back here, like the Timberland collaboration that I did with these Timberland companies, I used to get cracked on with having ran down Timbs, but he uses the very things that I was humiliated in by elevating me to give kids an opportunity to have not only Timberlands, all 30 kids was given Timberlands, but 3 of them was selected to have their own Timberland shoe made in New Hampshire. And you know, you have to be in your purpose because there's other people that are dependent upon you, and we have to be in miracle territory. Well, like my uncle, he loved Star Trek. He said the only way you could be the right person is if you get beamed up in that capsule. If you're outside the capsule, you can't get beamed up. You know, so I always use that as being the right person. And I'm glad and I'm grateful that, you know, sometimes you have to elevate people, but you have to allow them to come up to where you are and be able to communicate with you over these years. I feel like now I'm where you see me prior to me even not being able to see in the gold or seeing the value in myself. So
You ain't gonna make me crown here. I ain't going for it. How can people, that was a joke. No? Okay. How can people get in touch with you? Can they commission you to do some artwork for them?
Absolutely.
Can they pay you an honorarium to come and speak? Because you know that we are about entrepreneurship.
Yes.
You do know that part.
I do know that part. And I mean that wholeheartedly with just me being able to be in my purpose. But I don't necessarily always, entrepreneur. I do things as I'm an entrepreneur, but I also give with my heart. My mother, she died of a heart attack. So all the tags on the left side is geared towards my mom. It's a heart and a cape that's wrapped around here. So all the tags, like with Dr. Dre and Dave Chappelle, I always put something meaningful onto the left side of each and every shoe. So I say all that to say that I'm doing now a piece with this person with cancer came back again. And I know that some individuals don't necessarily have the thousands of $2,000 to pay me in an honorarium or whatever, but I don't allow that to push me into being in this elitist mind state as though like, no, but if I know your story and I'm connected with your story and I know that you are not faking the funk, then I'm going to pour into you. And only I wish is that you appreciate the art, and we also teach that us, instead of Basquiat, instead of Curry, James Marshall, instead of these individuals, when they transition, that we value the artists, and we also value art so that way we can actually have an investment of our own, because it's a lot of us, we don't necessarily recognize the arts until it's gone. The Black Collection Museum is almost, you know, as you know. Anyway, I can see, no, we're not doing this. But yes, you can reach out to me, Akio Evans, AKIOEVANS, that's my name. Thank you, Doni, for always, we talk like this all the time, so I'm just filtering what I want to say, but thank you, brother. I really appreciate you.
You my brother, man.
Appreciate it.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times, we're small in big ways, like local decision-making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
Welcome to Boss Ladies of Baltimore. Now, Donnie Glover came up with that name, and I'm going to accept it. But I'm only going to accept that name because I am truly with, one of Baltimore's boss ladies, Miss Alicia Wilson.
No, you are the original boss lady.
Absolutely
Such a
not.
pleasure.
It's my pleasure to have you here and to this first opportunity to talk about Boss Ladies of Baltimore. I know some of your story.
Yes.
I know in terms of you're from Baltimore,
Yes.
but I want our audience to know some of that story, to talk about your origin here in Baltimore and to talk about what you love about Baltimore.
Sure. I'm from East Baltimore, which is significant.
We got it.
And
East, West, we all love
yeah,
it.
that's all. I love it. I love it. But I think it's helpful to say where you're from.
Yes, it
and
is.
I grew up in East Baltimore, still live in the same neighborhood that I grew up in on purpose. And went to Merville for high school, went to UMBC for college, went to University of Maryland Law School for law school, and have stayed in Baltimore, love Baltimore deeply. And the things I love about Baltimore is that, I've been all over the world.
Yes,
My last position took me all over this country.
We're going to come back and have you talk about that last position, but please continue.
There is something so special about this city, in that it is a place where a girl can come from East Baltimore and become a vice president at Johns Hopkins.
Yes.
A place where, you have to be real in order to be effective.
Yes.
And where your love of both, the shiny and the dull parts of the city is part of its beauty.
Tell us a little bit more about your intentionality
Yeah.
of staying in Baltimore and the intentionality of staying in a community where you grew up. I absolutely agree with everything you just said. Baltimore is home to me in my heart and my spirit, and it's so real.
Yes.
But why did you make intention to stay where you grew up?
I think it's important to, by our actions, to send and reinforce messages. And while I have the means to be able to go anywhere, by choice, I think it is important for young people to know that you can grow where you were planted. And good things come out of our community and can stay in our neighborhoods. And for me, the first lawyer I ever met off of the television was when I was, well into going into college.
Mm-hmm.
But for the kids in my neighborhood, they are born and their parents can say there's a lawyer that lives 5 doors down.
All right.
There's a doctor that lives 3 blocks over, and this community gave birth to that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a powerful message for our young people and just for the strength of our community.
It is an absolute powerful message, one that I remember pre-integration. Now, I wasn't old enough to be here before integration, but remember in terms of when community, because what you're describing is community.
Yes.
And so you very much are part of making sure that happens for young people. Mm-hmm. And as a boss lady for me, for you, means you give of your heart. Yeah. You give of your heart to young people and help them move forward in terms of their career, wherever they decide. But you do that over time because you're really committed to Baltimore, but you're really committed to young people. Can we talk a little bit more about that commitment?
Yeah, I think it's really born out of what's happened to me, right? But for selfless, giving individuals, there would be no Alicia Wilson that sits in this seat, that even is able to have a conversation with a Diane Bell McCoy about this topic. And so it is not lost on me the power of committed, well-intentioned, selfless human beings and the power of that in the lives of young people. And I think that the ability to give, even when you need to be given to,
yes, that's important.
It's a powerful thing, and the abundance comes from that. And so I just think it's really important. It's the example that my mentors gave to me. I'm never too busy, just like they were never too busy.
So we know that clearly Boss Lady and Boss Lady of Baltimore for you means giving back,
Yes.
setting an example, and being real for young people, that letting them know that they can achieve as well.
Yes.
But let's keep going, talking about that career path when you move from law school into practicing law. Where did you go to?
I went to clerk on the circuit court for Baltimore City in the juvenile division. So did abuse and neglect cases and juvenile delinquency for a year and got to be really steeped in that. And then went from there to a law firm.
Okay.
And then brought in a client, Kevin Plank, to the law firm.
Okay.
And then was recruited out of the law firm onto his team to negotiate the TIF.
I did not know that that's where that began.
Yes.
But you went from there in terms of Kevin Plank to, did you go to Hopkins?
I went to Hopkins.
And then you went to J.P. Morgan Chase?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And you traveled all over.
Yes.
But
the country.
you came back to Baltimore.
Yes.
Why?
It was like, Dorothy said in The Wizard of Oz, there's no place like home. And
Yes.
really everywhere I went, my credibility in places was based on Baltimore. And when I left Hopkins to go to J.P. Morgan, I went on the board of Johns Hopkins. Not many people knew that.
I did not know that.
The day after I resigned, Ron Daniels brought me in his office and he said, I don't want you to leave me, and come on the board and contribute to this institution, continue to contribute to the institution. And so I was recruited back from the board, back into the organization.
Tell me as we get to end this segment in terms of Boss Lady, what does Boss Lady mean for you as you think about the whole journey in Baltimore? And what does it mean in terms of, for, I think, young men and women, but particularly in terms of young Black women? What does Boss Lady mean?
I think Boss Lady means being like a Diane Bell McCoy, and I'm being very serious about this. You led with intentionality, with a purity, and with a joy that was infectious, and it inspired others to be better just by your very example. And I think that's what a boss lady is.
So we know that we've got a lot of boss ladies
Yes.
coming behind us, and we're definitely going to be there to support them.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for spending time today.
I'd like to welcome you back to the Donnie Glover Show. Special thank you to 89 Crown Creative Agency for putting together a phenomenal production. Special thank you also to Mama Kiki and Patty here at the Sankofa Children's Museum of African Cultures. And to all of our guests, we'll see you next time. Do pick up a copy of Unapologetically Black, Journalpreneur, and I Am Black Wall Street. And do check out BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth.
Donnie Glover Show, be more.